Hello everyone, welcome back. So let me share my screen with you guys. And let's start with what we're going to do today. We're going to do Chapter 8, Algebraic Reasoning, Graphing Connections with Geometry. So here are the questions. The first one, we're asked to explain how the graph is correlated to the function of the amount of gas that is in the tank to drive across the country. Here's graph number 1. So we start with this amount of gas first. Then the car travels and drives, refills, becomes to a stop, refills, starts driving again, and consistently goes down as the drive begins. And then we're asked to show the function of the height of an elevator stopping at each floor. So we begin at floor 1. We go up, we stop, go up, stop, go up, stop. As we notice, the stairs become smaller as we reach to the top. And then we're asked to explain the function of the length of a shadow of a flagpole, length of a shadow throughout a sunny day. So then here is So this is the one of the shadow right here. And this one starts from the beginning of the day, and it decreases, as one can tell, as the day moves along. That was D. C was asked to see the height of the ball drop from the top, from the top, drop to the floor. Well, gravity is going to pull it down. So we begin at the top, the ball drops, and it just decreases until it stops rolling. Number two is asked to fill in these equations to get the answer of g of f of 0. So we know that f of x equals 3x, and we know that gx is going to equal x plus 8. So here we have 0 in our function, and we do g times 3x equals 3x plus 8, because we know we're going to add 8 to whatever we get of x. So g of f equals g of 3 times 0, so 3 times 0 plus 8. So we know that 3 times 0 is 0. We add 8. G of 0 equals 8, as one can tell right here. Now g of 1. G of f of 1. G of f of 1 equals g times 3 times 1, because we're substituting for this value right here, 1. G of f of x of 1 equals 3x plus 8. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 8, we get 11, which is this step right here. 3 plus 8, because 3 times 1 is 3. We add 8, we get 11. C, we're finding f of 2. So we're substituting and replacing it with 2. So g of f times 2. So here we go. G times 3 times 2. So 3 times 2, we get 6, equals which I did 3 times 2, so you multiply. So I just kind of dragged it towards and put the equal sign, and so that's 6. Then you add 8, which is this next step right here, and you get 14, your answer. So 6 plus 8 is 14. Then we go to D. We're going to substitute f of x with f of 3. So we do 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 8, which will give us 17. So we just multiply and we replace the function of f of x, we replace it with whatever the new variable is for x, as you can see. Okay, for number 3, it says that we need to show the slopes of a line segment determined to the given pairs of points. So they give us our points, and we have to find how to how to find the slope. So here we have the formula y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we have to know that on our coordinates of P, 3 is x of x1 and y is y1. x2 is in 5, the first 5, and the second 5 is y2. So we follow this formula right here, and so x2 is going to be 5, this 5 right here, minus x1, which is right here, coordinates P, divided by 5 minus 3, which is x2, which is this first 5 on the Q coordinates, and then x1, which is 3. So you do 5 minus 1 divided by 5 minus 3, and then you get 4 divided by 2. And then from 4 divided by 2, we're going to simplify. The 4 divided by 2 is 2, and we get 2. That's how our answer is 2. And the graph will go upwards to the right. If you were to graph this, it will go upwards to the right. Number 3. R and 5, and we're doing the same formula. We're doing y2, the slope formula. y2 minus y1 divided by x squared minus x1. So here our coordinates change. R is 5, 8. S is 5, negative 8. So close to the same, but we have a negative number. So we label our x1, y1, x2, y2. And we go ahead and set it up. So x2 would be negative 8 minus x1, which is 8. And then you're going to divide by x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 5. And then you get negatives, and then you do the math, which is negative 8 minus 8 equals negative 16. 5 minus 5 is 0. So divided by 0. So we can't simplify this. And the answer is negative 16 divided by 0, and it's undefined. So for number 3, 3C, here are coordinates, continuing the same thing. The coordinates are negative 1, negative 4, B, negative 4, negative 13. We're using the same slope formula. y2 minus y1 divided by x squared minus x1. So we're just plugging in. We're doing negative 13 minus negative 4, and be sure you put that in parentheses, so that way when you get in the calculator, it doesn't mess it up. It knows what you were trying to do there. And then you divide it by the x squared, which is negative 4, and the x1, which is negative 1, parentheses. And then you get negative 9 divided by negative 3. So what we're going to do there is simplify that. And when we simplify that, we get 3. So we know that if we were to graph this, it'd be going downwards to the left. Okay, number 4. The equation is y equals x squared. So we are to graph this, sorry. So what I did is I went into Excel, and I made a chart. And you can do it on PowerPoint too, but I did it on Excel just because I did the graphs in Excel. So I did the x values, y values. And I did negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Then I did 4, which is, so we substitute right here the x with whatever the x values are from here, and then squared. So for example, for number 1, it says I put negative 2. So we're going to replace it in the x form. So it's negative 2 squared, and you get negative 4. Then we do negative 1 in place of the x, square that, and get 1. We do 0, square that, get 0. 1, square that, get 1. 2, square that, and get 4. And right here, we can see that I use my snip tool, so if it's a little small, sorry, let me try to make it a little bigger. But here I did my chart, I put my variables in, and I went and I was able to use the technique of having, once I had my X variables, I went into my Y's, and I just put equals, and then I clicked this cell, and then squared it, and it gave me the answers, and then I was able to drag it so it would just give me the rest of the answer, or the rest of the numbers that went with that variable. And then as when we graph it, we know that it lies on the x-axis and folds upwards. So it just does that big U. Okay, number 4B. We have, now it's y equals x squared plus 7. So I used the same variables. I did -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And so I'm going to substitute the same thing that I did in 4A. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm just substituting this -2 for that x, squaring it, and add 7. So I did -2 squared plus 7. Gave me gave me 11. -1 squared plus 7 gave me 8. And then I did 0 squared plus 7 gave me 7, because 0 squared is 0, and then you add 7 is 7. 1 squared plus 7, 8. 2 squared plus 7, 11. So I did this chart in Excel as well. And then I graphed it, used my snipping tool, just copied and pasted it. But as you can tell, I did my little chart right there. And this graph, you can tell that it's going on that y-axis. It went up 7 and it folded up. So the first one was right here and it folded up on the x-axis, and it folded up. So it just went up 7, formed itself, and folded up. For number 4C, we're doing the same. It's almost the same equation, except it's a negative. So we do y equals x squared minus 7. So here's the x values. And I use the same ones, -2 all the way to 2. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So we did -2 squared, got that answer, subtract 7, and got -3. -1 squared, square that, minus 7 is 6. 0 squared minus 7 would give us 7. 1 squared minus 7 gave us -6. And 2 squared minus 7 gave us -3. I did this chart as well on Excel, but you can do it on PowerPoint. And I used my snipping tool and just copy and paste this. But here's what the graph looks like. So it went down into the y-axis to -7. So now we had one at the origin from 0 and folded up, and then we went up 7, rise over run, and then placed it on 7 and it folded up, and then we went down 7 and it folded up. So it's all on the y-axis. Okay, so here is 5A. It says to show and explain the equation of the given points that is perpendicular to the given slope. So they gave us our formula, which is y equals -3/4 x plus 5. Then they gave us a pair of coordinates, r6, -1. So the first thing we want to label is x1, y1 for our coordinates, because we only have one pair. So it's x1, y1. Then we're going to find the slope, which is defined as m. So m would be -3/4, okay? But we're going to swap that and swap the signs. So we're going to flip it, and it's going to be 4/3. Now we're going to use this formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So all we're going to do is just substitute. It gives you the formula, and you have the coordinate, you label the coordinates. So we do y minus, it says minus y1, which y1 would be -1, so parentheses -1, equals m. M would be your slope, which is 4/3, parentheses x, because that's what's next, minus x1. X1 would be 6. In this equation, you close the parentheses, and you're going to distribute this right here. So you add y plus 1, so you get y plus 1 equals 4/3 x, because 4/3 divided by x is 4/3 x. Then you do 4/3 times -6, and you get -8. So we distributed already, okay? And we're trying to get y by itself. So we subtract 1 from each side. So you minus 1, so you get y by itself. So it'd be 4/3 x minus 8 minus 1, which is -9. So as one can see, this is our answer. Y equals 4/3 x minus 9. Okay, moving along with 5B. This one's a little bit different because now we have y's and x's. So our equation is 2y plus 9x minus 5 equals 0. So the first thing we want to do is subtract 9. So subtract 9 and cancel that out. And then we get 2y equals -9x minus 5, because we're trying to get y by itself first. So then we divide by 2, because we're trying to get y by itself. Divide by 2, as one can see, -9x minus 5 divided by 2. So y equals -9 divided by 2 minus 5 divided by 2. In the m over here, we're going to do -9 divided by 2. We're going to swap that and get 2 divided by 9. Because this is our slope. We have to swap. So if it was negative, it now becomes positive, and then the bottom number goes up and the top number goes down. So this is our formula. This is our slope, I'm sorry. And our coordinates, x1 and y1. We're going to use the same formula we used previously. So we're just going to plug numbers in. We get y minus y1, which is 3 up here, equals 2 divided by 9, which is our slope, x minus x1, which is 0. Just add your parentheses so you know what you're doing. I forgot to. And then you get y minus 3 equals 9 parentheses, x minus 0 parentheses. So we're trying to get y by itself. So since this is minus 3, we add 3, to each side. So then you get y equals, because these 3's cancel out, 9x, 2 divided by 9x, minus 0. Now we added 3. So -0 plus 3. So y equals 2 divided by 9, x plus 3 would be our answer, because we added 3. Okay, 6. 6 says to explain the line that is tangent to the circle of a radius 9 at 0, 9, and whose center is at the origin. So this is the equation for the tangent line, but I just like it. y minus d equals parentheses a minus c divided by d minus b, close parentheses, times x minus c. That can be all confusing for us. So we can just do, I like just to think about it as y minus y1 equals x1 minus x2 times x minus x1. So divide by x, you know, it's just easier. So here we have our coordinates 0, -9. And we're just going to plug numbers in. So y minus y1, so this would be x1, this would be y1, so it'd be -9, parentheses, equals, we know that the origin is 0, 0, because it's given to us right here, 0, 0, 0 minus 0, divided by 0 minus -9 times 0 minus 0, which will give us y minus parentheses -9 equals 0. So then we get y by itself, so we do plus 9 on each side. So we do plus 9 like that. And then, so we get y by itself, and then that cancels out because it's adding 9 to each side. So we get y equals -9. For 6b, it's the same thing, just different radius, and that is 9 at 0, 9, and whose center is at the origin. So we're starting at the origin. So instead of using y minus d in this big old formula, we can use the same formula we use, which is y minus y1 equals x1 minus x2 divided by y1 minus y2, x minus x1. And we're just going to plug these numbers in. So y minus y1, which in this case would be 9. And then we're going to do, or -9, I'm sorry. And then we're going to do 0 minus 0 divided by 0 times -9. And then we get y equals y parentheses y minus -9 close parentheses equals 0, and then just add 9, and we get our number as 9. So C says to compare line A with line B. We know that line A and line B, if we were to graph this, this would be parallel. There would be parallel to each other. We have at the origin 0, 0, the tangent line 0, 9, 0, 9, and they're all parallel to each other. Thanks for watching.